then this is now, and we're into our second best of 3 of the night as TrAce from Gen Air Green Wings takes on Najin EM Fire's Pure. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. TrAce versus Pure in a best of 3 here, 1v1 tournament. Broadcast on Azubu TV, it's the Solo King. My name is Rapid. We're getting into game number 1 of their best of 3. It all comes down to this: TrAce with Morgana. I'm kind of confused to see this, and then of course you realize the last time these players faced off against each other, TrAce actually won. Well, not against each other, but last time these players were in the Solo King, TrAce actually won 2 out of his 4-0 victory games on Morgana. Picked up a win on Lulu, 2 wins on Morgana, and of course a win on Scion, which was actually really impressive to watch. He played a full tank Scion and just got unkillable, farmed up those minion waves, and picked up a creep score victory. And as far as victories are concerned, when they win, both of these players prefer First Blood, or at least Pure prefers First Blood, whereas TrAce is much more of an objective focused player. 2 tower kill victories, 1 creep score victory, and a First Blood victory, spread it out all across the board. Take a look at the in-bed vote. You can see their poll there on the screen, 24%. Pure can pick up a win, whereas TrAce with 76% of the vote. Not often that you see a player who plays a little bit more of a supportive style of champion be favored in the vote, specifically with his earlier performances. And while he did win an undefeated 4-0 trip through his bracket earlier, okay, Pure just putting out a little shots fired already onto the ground. Nothing too consequential. So here's the way that TrAce plays this lane. Okay, he'll start with enough sustain from his passive, gives him 20% spell vamp, or 10%, I believe is what it starts out at, and he'll just pool the wave over and over again. We've seen him start Flask before, but primarily it's just the Doran's Ring so that he makes sure to have enough ability power. Spam out on the wave, get some mana back, and of course get some health back along with his passive. And put the pool down on the wave, and just watch TrAce's health bar specifically. He'll get a little bit of HP back from levels, but more importantly, just the spell vamp off of his passive is actually pretty darn significant, even though it's cut by a third. Oh, TrAce wants to get into Dark Binding range. I believe that is the spell he took second. Look at those piercing lights coming out from Pure. He's actually able to go through the creep wave and land several of them onto TrAce to have overall the life total advantage here. But of course, that's probably going to be the case for most of the lane phases, just because he did start with a very, very high sustain item build, Crystalline Flask, health potions, no Doran's Blade. We did see a Doran's Blade pick up on Caitlyn. However, that was mostly because Caitlyn was focusing on a lot of early harassment, whereas now for Lucian, recognizes may not necessarily be able to pick up a kill in lane, but does need the ability to sustain through a lot of those Tormented Soils being put down. Now, a problem with Tormented Soil is that it's not exactly the easiest skill to last hit with. You have to time your ticks down there on the minion. Oh, Dark Binding misses through the minions. Actually hit onto a minion right the second before it died. A little bit heartbreaking there for TrAce, who's actually going to take a trip back to base. Very early on, gets a second Doran's Ring and just heads right back into lane. And usually the player who is forced to base first actually has a little bit more of a disadvantage, just because they weren't in lane long enough to pick up enough gold, or as much gold as their opponent. Whoa, walking forward, no threat of the Dark Binding. Pure trading very, very aggressively in this 1v1. Dark Binding cooldown, it's coming up here in just a second. It's up, where is it going to come out? To the left, everybody. Dark Binding probably to the right though when it comes out. We'll see where Pure finds himself on what side of the minion wave, but just consistently pooling intense micro abilities. The mechanics on those Tormented Soils, the likes of which the world has never seen. But as for TrAce though, right now he just has to make sure that he puts himself in a good enough spot as far as wave positioning is concerned, so that he can get a positioning advantage in the lane that'll punish Pure for going back to base earlier. It's kind of a mouthful to say, but you get the idea. If Pure is forced to go back to base in a position where the wave's going to hit his turret while he's gone, he's going to lose a couple of minions, and when the minion, or CS count rather, is actually as close as it is, 33 to 34, 36 to 35 now. Thanks for changing up the math on me. Where's that Dark Binding? He's fishing for it. No more Relentless Pursuit. TrAce wants to hit it and does. Big trade advantage, and that's exactly what I was talking about. If he can land that Dark Binding, force TrAce, or force Pure back to base, that'll mean that he'll actually be able to shove this entire wave of minions into the turret, probably deny quite a few of them. For Pure, who is going to have to sit on the fountain for a little bit before he goes ahead and heals on up. Flashing on it. Whoa, TrAce didn't go back to base. He's got the barrier. Will that barrier be enough? It's gonna fade away. And speaking of fade away, there's Pure coming back from base. Kind of caught TrAce looking. He was trying to head back to base himself, but had his recall stopped. And watch this. This is where he flashes the Dark Binding. That's your hashtag, the Solo King big play. If that's actually a hashtag, it's a good time to use it. Flashing that Dark Binding, getting up close and personal, gives Pure Game 1 victory over TrAce.